Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We are on day 3 of the Sales Rep Festival. Up next, we're talking about virtual tools. So just as a reminder, I see that we have some repeats from our last session, so thank you guys for joining us again. If you have not already activated your audio, we do have this screen up here to help you find how you can do that. Most of you look like you're pretty well set. But you would just want to choose a computer or phone call option for your audio. And then if you want to hide that GoToWebinar panel, you can click on that orange arrow and it'll minimize that call-in for you. Feel free to type questions in here throughout. We'll be sure to answer any of the questions for you at the end, probably even unmute you guys too, just in case you have any of their discussion points or anything like that that you have ready to share, since a lot of us have been doing a lot of virtual meetings and appointments and stuff like that throughout this year. So we'd love to hear what's been successful for you. So without further ado, we have Todd Litzman, our president and CEO, that's going to be leading this presentation for you today. Again, we are all working from home. I'm here in Lakewood, Colorado, so you probably see my kitties and stuff that are going to run in the background, but I'll turn off my camera so I'm not super distracting for you guys. We definitely want to be able to respect your time, so we'll dive right into the presentation. But if you want to just confirm that you have been able to hear me okay, if you attended our last session, tell us what your favorite takeaway was from the Big Map session. And if this is your first time joining us today, let us know where you're joining us from, just to confirm you can hear everything. So Todd, please feel free to take it away.
Awesome, thanks Callie, appreciate it. All righty. Well, welcome everybody. The day before the new year. Finally put this 2020 year behind us, which would be kind of fun. Thank you all for joining. This is, as Callie put it, day 3 of kind of going through this. We've sort of changed the order up on these over the last few days. But sort of starting off with the virtual aspect today, then this afternoon doing the vision for iPad and new on Play. And they kind of all tie together, you know, how you can use Play and vision for iPad and 360 to help yourself virtually connect with your retailers, which, as Callie points out, all of you should be, you know, I'm sure that that's all that you've done, or a significant amount of what you've done in the last few months. When we first started these type of sessions back in March, April, May, it was new to everybody. But kind of going through these things at a high level, we'll leave room for some questions at the end that you may have as we go through this, but I will get moving. Being this my first one, my voice should make it all the way through this, whereas yesterday I started losing it at the end of the day. But our first Sales Rep Festival, we're hoping that in the future or different parts of next year, we can get some more stuff that's specific content that will benefit sales reps at a time where they might be able to get on and it's not interrupting their sales day. But I will be hosting agenda. We're going to go over a bit of Brandwise 2.0, different pieces of it, how it relates to the virtual. We're going to talk about the passport, which I know for many sales reps, it's been, you know, when do we get our passport? What's the value point? So we're going to talk a little bit more about that and what some of the future value will be for you, for the sales reps with regards to passport. We're going to talk about reach 1.0 and 2.0. You know, show 2.0, talk a little bit about how you can interact virtually with your 1.0 reach products. Remote selling tools that are available within both Play and Reach. We'll talk through that. Remote meetings, you know, what you guys, I imagine many of you have already done with Zoom and different tools like that, like we're doing today, where you can, you know, connect with your retailers in a visual remote meeting, and then Q&A at the end. So kind of jumping into it. So if you think about Brandwise 2.0, or honestly Brandwise 1.0 or Showroom Solutions or any of the rest of it, our tools have always been put together to help facilitate sales. So you can talk about sales moments or sales interactions or anything like that. But what's more important now than has ever been, and not just because of COVID, just because of the change in what's going on in our industries, making sure that you're equipped with valuable tools and information and actionable information that you can provide to your retailer is more critical than ever. So as we go through this, a lot of what this is making sure that you're prepared when you do get on those calls with all the information you need to answer their questions and be as valuable as you all are. The hybrid commerce, so leveraging digital and analog. So if you guys have been on our previous webinar series, and which we've done a bunch of since March, we talked a lot about the analog, and the analog part of our industry is sales reps, the human factor. Digital is your iPad or your B2B site or your your laptop or any of those types of things, but the value that the human brings, what you guys bring in the sales process. And on the data that we provided, Gift and Deck and some other things, shows that when a rep is involved in a transaction, when one of you are talking to your retailer, those sales orders are 2 to 3 times larger than a sales order where a retailer goes to a website and just buys on their own. And as important as that order size, or maybe more importantly, is that when a rep is involved, the reorder year over year, we did a 3-year analysis, is over 70% when they work with a rep. It's less than 30% when they go direct to a website. So what it says is the digital is awesome and it's here to stay, but the sales rep involvement in helping retailers buy better is critical. Combining the latest technologies of, with our ecosystem and what the current B2B strategies are, right? Make it easy, make it multi-line, make it, the business rules, all of these types of things to make it easy for a retailer to purchase using the latest technology, interacting with your play systems and different things like that, and then tying the 290,000 retailers and 4,500 sales reps and 3,500 brands into one system where everybody can start to, the interchange makes more sense. There's less duplication of effort, less duplication of data. Brandwise 2.0 is going to unite all of this. This passport that we've talked about, and for the principals on, you guys know more about that, but for the sales reps, this is that bedrock of what everything's going to be based on going forward. So if you think about it, not really as Facebook, but more as LinkedIn, where you now have your LinkedIn profile, you're going to have your Brandwise profile, and you can connect to your business, you can connect to your agency, you can connect to your retailers, you'll be able to connect to all of these things through this ecosystem. Brandwise Passport, we're going to go through, we talked a little bit about that, but again, everybody has one. I have one, Janetta has one, each of you will ultimately have one, your retailers have one, all the suppliers have one as their personal passport, just like your physical passport. And then you'll use that passport, not to get into countries necessarily, but to get into the agency that you work for, the supplier that you work for. And the suppliers will use it to connect to the agencies that represent them. Retailers will use it to connect to your reach sites. And ultimately, that's how you pull information into your play system using the retailer passport. Transit is the tool that allows suppliers to upload data now on a daily basis. And many of you have seen this where they're uploading data with quantity on hand and data available information on a regular basis because Transit's been made available for that. That's also pushing data up to 2.0 to populate our new reach site and provide formatted files to the agencies, which make it easy to upload. But it will also allow for us to make the iPads and the laptops pull dynamic data down from the cloud. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. And then all Brandwise products eventually will migrate to 2.0. Many of them are already in our what we call 2.0. Like if you think about the iPad app, that's a 2.0 application, which will continue to evolve to take advantage of more 2.0 data. The Vision for 360, Vision for iPad's already 2.0. Many of our tools are already in the environment, but over time, the rest of them will move into that. And what that really means is it's just more nimble, it's web-based, cloud-based, simpler to maintain, more scalable, all those types of things. So let's talk a little bit more about the Brandwise Passport. So again, whether you're a retailer, whether you're an agency, whether you're a sales rep, whether you're a supplier, whether you're a marketplace, you're going to have a passport and your business is connected to that passport. So it's you will have your passport. Team members are those that work within that company. And then whoever connects to you is how they get access into the information that company houses. So as we migrate, or started this migration at the beginning of this year, first quarter of this year, from 1.0 to 2.0, we started with suppliers, back office folks at suppliers that upload a product file, and the agency staff that receive those files. That was our first migration into the passport. Then once we started getting ready to launch the 2.0 reach and connected the 1.0 reach to the passport, we migrated all of the retailers that had purchased on reach sites or had signed up for reach sites in 12 to 18 months prior to the beginning of the migration. We moved all of them over. So they're all in the ecosystem now. As we continue to advance this, it's going to advance communications between like you guys and your retailer. So the idea is that there'll be mechanisms within Passport where they can reach out to you directly, where they can email you directly, where they'll ultimately be able to chat with you. They'll be able to put their own credit card data in themselves. And the key to this is for the retailer, for you guys as well, but for the retailer specifically, is they manage their profile. So if their business address changes or their phone number changes, or their buyers change or any of that, they control that. So it starts to get it to the point where we have a single entity for a retailer across all of these different enterprises, as opposed to you guys keying that stuff in and duplicating it because maybe it's in somebody else's system or things like that. The key to the Brandwise Passport for whether you're a retailer or not is that you control that information that I just spoke about. So you're in control of your data and the relationships that you create. So if you're a rep that's connected to agency A, and for some reason you leave agency A, you disconnect from agency A, but you still have your passport and use that passport to connect to agency B. Same with the retailer. If they're connected to this marketplace or this website, or this reach site, and then they connect to this other reach site and this other one, they can be disconnected from a reach site either by themselves or from an agency or a marketplace who says they're not really a retailer, they shouldn't be connected to this. So it gives more control to all of you, where Brandwise has historically had some of that control innately in our systems. And then as of the morning, which was 2 mornings ago, when I started this, we have hundreds of suppliers and sales agencies that are already connected through the passport. We're getting transit files every single day from a bunch of suppliers that are getting delivered to the agencies and populating the 2.0 websites. We have over 50,000 retailers that are actively participating with passports, meaning they've already gone and got their passport. They're already connected to your 1.0 reach sites. They're connected to 2.0 reach sites where those are available. So that's already starting to pick up momentum as we're bringing on these marketplaces, which also will keep the sales rep in the loop. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. But the key to the Brandwise ecosystem is that when an order is taken on an agency website or on a marketplace like the Greeting Card Association or Canadian Gift Association or Museum Store Association, that if an agency is involved with those suppliers in that marketplace, the order goes from that association to that agency, and from that agency to you guys, just like it does for your own reach sites. So as we get more and more of these retailers participating across all these platforms, you as the sales reps are kept transparently in the transaction and in the process. So if we think about what Reach 2.0 is versus Reach 1.0, the functionality behind the scenes is always very powerful. But what Reach 2.0 was to be a beautiful experience, a very appealing, aesthetically pleasing experience to your retailers. So on any device, whether you're on a PC, whether they're working on a PC with a big screen, whether they're on a laptop, whether they're on an iPad, or whether they're on a mobile phone, the system is built to be responsive across all those devices. So it does the math to say, oh, I need to compress it to this, I need to compress it to that, I need to make it small on a mobile phone and put the hamburger menu. All of that works seamlessly across all of these devices. So looking at Reach 2.0, and for those of you with Reach 1.0, you'll see the differences right away, but it's all about, you know, the aesthetic. So instead of having logos on the landing page that a retailer goes to, we wanted lifestyle images. While they may know the logo of a supplier, they may not understand based on the logo what the product is. So the lifestyle image emphasizes that. You look at this, you know what they sell based on what that lifestyle image is. So that's what they land on out of the gates if they're going to Reach 2.0. Whether on a PC, on an iPad, on a phone, all that, like I mentioned before, all of that looks fantastic. One of the benefits they also have within the 2.0 is they can search across all of your brands at once. So as you start, you know, suggesting what they should buy and do different things and talking through them about how to use Reach 1.0 or 2.0, the benefit in 2.0 once they get there is if they can search across anything. So if they're searching for black product or blue product or red product or purses or lamps, they don't have to pick a supplier first. They can go across all of them. So you see here that I've got 3 different brands that come up as a retailer. They can also search within a supplier. So if you're sending out promotions to them or you're working with them, you say, hey, go check this product out within Beekman. You can give them the specific SKUs. They can go right to Beekman. They can start typing that in, both in 1.0 and 2.0 from within that supplier and get the imagery up. But what you can see here is it's much more about the image for them so that it's a more comfortable buying experience. Then, of course, they can finish across multiple suppliers like they can in 1.0 and like you can in Reach. They can easily see if they've met their minimum, and we're updating that as we speak, actually, to give them the math. So if you see the bottom one, Broken Top Candle Company, where it says, I'm at 123, but I'm short of 150, we're going to actually tell them you're $27 short of minimum, so they don't have to do the math. So that's coming. They can easily continue shopping from within there. So if they haven't met a minimum or they want to add product, there's a continue shopping button, takes them right back to that brand. And then they can empty the cart if they need to. Now, what's going to be great for you guys as we talk about this data that's going to be so critical as we move forward, every action that a retailer takes in 2.0, they logged in, they added items to a cart, they deleted items from a cart, they deleted an entire cart, they placed an order. All of that information is being logged into activities in our new platform. All of that will be made available to you and your agencies in marketing material. So you'll know when you're talking to a retailer, you'll be able to get insight into products they clicked on that maybe they didn't finish with, or carts that they put in that they deleted, all the way down to the SKU, so that you can start to talk to them or think through with them. Okay, I see that you added these type of products, but remove them. What were you thinking about? So it gives you more insight and information, which is what this is all about. And then, of course, they can easily finish orders when they're finished verifying everything. Now in the new system, they can go add shipping addresses. They can modify shipping addresses. They can do all of that within reach because they now control their 2.0 passport. So continuing on, they can also drill in. So if they go into product detail, which you can do now, you can do in your Play iPad, and you can bench zoom in. In Reach 2.0, they can look at a big picture, but they can't zoom over it in 1.0. In 2.0, they can hover over and they can see, very distinct detail about what the product is. So it gives them some nice benefits from that. And then their order history. And this is going to be another big piece of interactivity. So right now it shows all of the order history. So you can see it's showing me by brand. The retailer can go in and run basic reports out of here. So they can pull the brand up to the top and group by brand, or they can pull up dates, or they can grab PO numbers or search by. All of that is all available to them in the order history. When they get down to the specific order level, as you can see here, it has your information. So as the sales rep, it's going to show your name, your phone number, your email address, all that type of stuff is going to be available in here. And then updated business editors. So for the retailer and ultimately for the agencies and for the supply, not ultimately for the agencies and suppliers, the ability for them to manage their own information. So for a retailer, they can go in and create and manage their billing address, their contact information. In the supplier side, they can manage their business profile and their lifestyle images within their editor and so on and so forth. Same with the agencies. And for the supplier, once they put that information in, then this about the brand, they can put all this about the brand stuff so the retailer can see that. You guys are able to, and your agencies are able to, grab these URLs that you see up in the top, which this URL for Baumgartner, if used in social media or used in your marketing material, will take that retailer directly into Reach. Once they're logged in or they've logged in and they stay logged in, right to the Baumgartner site or specific product within that. So you can do that in 1.0 and 2.0, but it's a way that you can help your retailer get somewhere easier, downloading content, doing things like that, which we'll go into also a little bit more. So Play and Reach is remote selling tools. So staying connected remotely, right? So what that means, how, what we kind of talked about earlier, what kind of analytics can you do? How can you find information that allow you to stay connected remotely to your retailers, which now is sort of second nature for everybody. One is to strive to make sure that all your retailers are registered for Reach. So if you use Reach, if your agency has Reach, or your supplier members have Reach, or you're with an association that has Reach, make sure your retailers are getting registered for that. Because the benefit to you as time goes on into the first quarter of next year and beyond is the ability when you approach a new customer, somebody reaches out to you, or you may see them at a market, or you may market to them, is you can ask them, do you have a Brandwise Passport? Yes, I do. Can I get your email address? You'll be able to pull all of that information into your system. Instead of having to key it all in, make sure it's all correct, it's going to pull down what that retailer put in. It's ultimately going to pull down credit card tokenization, so you don't have to get that stuff anymore. So these are the benefits of making sure they're getting connected to the ecosystem through their passport. Sharing suggested orders from Play. So this is specific to the 1.0, but this will ultimately be iterated into 2.0. But in your 1.0 Reach sites, which many of you guys have already, that your agencies have already, you can put suggested orders together for your retailers. You can go into Play, and I'll show you that in more detail in a second, create pending or HFC orders that they can work interactively with you. So they can go into Play, or they can go into Reach, pull that order up, add some stuff, remove it, send it back to you. You get it back on your device. You can look at it back and forth. Then when you're comfortable with it, you confirm it, send it to the supplier. It's a great way for communicating with your retailers and giving them suggestions on orders. Back at the beginning when I talked about a retailer that goes to a website, even your Reach site, and they're not quite sure what to buy, they're going to struggle more than if you give them suggestions about what to go purchase on those Reach sites. Sharing digital content with your retailers, and there's a number of different ways you can do that. We've implemented some stuff based on what you guys have requested from us this year to make it easier for you to provide content to your retailers. One is vision reporting, which we'll talk about in the vision for iPad a bit later, where you can send reports that have linkable data, images, that they can tap on in a PDF or an Excel document that you can email, that they can download the images for social media or websites or any of that type of stuff. But you can also share URLs with them for reach. So you can share a URL that just downloads a product, or from Reach 1.0, if you go to a catalog, log in, in Reach 1.0, you'd log in as your fake retailer. If you go to a catalog or you go to a product, you can grab the URL out of that and you can embed it into your marketing material or your social media and communicate that out to the retailers. And when they click on it, we'll take them right into Reach. In 2.0, same thing. However, the difference with 2.0 is once the reps start to get passports and get connected to agencies, you end up with read-only access to your Reach site without having to set up a retailer. You just log into them. Once you get that, you can go grab these different URLs very easily from there as well. So another powerful tool that's available for you to communicate things out to your retailers. Scheduling time for a check-in for virtual appointments is also critical, things I'm sure that you guys are doing now. But prior to doing the check-in, making sure that you know, based on different analytics that you have, what reporting tools that you have, what have they purchased, what maybe is on back order, what future orders do they have. These are all things that you can see through the different tools that are available to you prior to scheduling that check-in. So when you check in with them, you're basically saying to them, okay, here's what I see, here's what's going on, here's some best sellers on product that you like, yada, 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 and then you can start that communication that way. So you're bringing more value. Ensuring your retailers know how to navigate Reach, whether it's 1.0 or 2.0. Whenever we stand a site up, and we're standing up plenty of them now, we do a rep training, not because you're going to be using Reach necessarily, but so that you can walk your retailers through how to use it. 2.0 is very straightforward, very simple, very intuitive. 1.0 takes a little bit more because there's more you can do with it. And it was built a long time ago, so it's a little bit different. So whichever one it is, though, making sure that your retailers are comfortable with how to use that. And then learning the new communication tools like what we're doing today, right? Instead of doing in-person stuff, how do you use technology and communication tools to prepare for, however you're going to sell? Zoom makes it very easy to share your iPad screen with your retailer. So if you wanted to, as opposed to sitting with them and sitting next to them, which you're not going to be doing even if you're with them, you're going to be across the table or 6 feet away. If you're doing it virtually, you can share your screen with them very easily. You can show them what you're looking at without having to be next to them. Some great tools out there for that. And of course, remaining active and engaged on a daily basis, which I'm sure everybody is. So thinking about some of this from a practical sense within Play for iPad, for instance, if you go to the home screen and from the home screen, you go down and you click on your present products. You can choose product or select from existing collections. If you're not sure about present product or you haven't used collections yet, at 1 o'clock, I'm doing what's new on Play, and we'll go into much more detail about how to use collections and how to use these new tools to make it easy for yourself to recreate orders over and over or send tear sheets or suggestions out to your retailers. But you can choose those products, use the products to quickly create an order. Now, if you're on Reach 1.0, at this point, you can create the order as an HFC, or you can leave it pending, or you can leave it as a quote. Make sure that it's at status, and then make sure this retailer view online switch is on. By default, that will turn itself on, which means when you exit this order, it's going to send an email to your retailer saying, hey, I've got a suggested order for you out on Reach 1.0, and they can go interact with it. Then you can reach out to your customer with that follow-up to make sure they got the email, they went to Reach, they knew how to do that, so on and so forth. When you create this order yourself in the iPad, that order comes back to you, and same with the laptop, comes back to you to confirm it. So the retailer gets it. When they're done modifying it, they click a finished, and it comes back to you. You get a notification that that's there, and it shows up on your device. So if you think about the remote meetings now, so again, if you use Vision for iPad to get the analytics, or on your PC, you use your sales analysis to figure out what's going on with the retailers before you contact them. Then you build some things in Play where you're building suggestions or tear sheets or information that maybe you sent out beforehand. Then you start setting up your appointments. And getting catchy content and sensitivity to them means that it's relevant to your retailer. So if they're a toy retailer, or they're children's apparel, or they're housewares, you want to make sure that the content that you're talking about is relative to them, and they'll be and something that's sensitive to their business, and some catchy content that they can look at that will make them want to obviously jump on a call with you. Clear and meaningful objective. So why do you need to work with them in real time? Many retailers will say, I'm really busy, send me stuff over, I'll look at it when it's convenient for me. The downside of that is they don't get the direct interaction with you guys that they would get if you were in person, either at a market or in their retail establishment. So you want to give them some reasons why they want to get on a live presentation with you, even if it's a short one, again, keeping track of their time. How do you do it? Plenty of tools, right? Tons of digital tools like this one or Zoom or the millions of others that are out there I'm sure you guys have used. Finding one that's easy for your retailers to get engaged with and that will work well to share the screens that you have. Making sure you have a good camera, that you have a good microphone, all those types of things. And then when is it best to schedule, which is really interesting now, because most retailers don't have the same staff they had 3 or 4 or 5 months ago. It's a lot of them just have themselves, maybe one other person. And now they're running product out to consumers, or they're running it out to the parking lot. And they're, it's a much different environment than it was. So what are the right times of day? It may be after hours that become the right time of day for some of these meetings. What type of calendar tools? We get asked all the time about that. We use Calendly for a lot of this, which is a really good tool for people to be able to schedule times with you without you having to get on the phone or do things like that. It just shows what your open slots are. So that's a good tool that we happen to use. And then what's the right appropriate length of time to have one of these presentations that doesn't overdo it, but doesn't underdo it either, so you don't get your points across. So, and then preview what you're going to cover. So we're going to look at this, and you can do that through tear sheets. You can do that through many different things. Then preparation, of course, evaluating your audience. Who are they going to be? Is it the owner? Is it the owner and a buyer? Is it just a buyer? That type of information. Preparing your content, again, through tear sheets, through suggested orders, through HFCs or quotes that will get that you can email off to your retailers before you get on the phone so that you can work with some of that type of stuff. Visuals, one of the things that I learned a long time ago that works really well is to try to take people through a presentation like we're doing now versus ad hoc. Because when you go ad hoc, you miss out on a whole bunch of things that you would have wanted to say, and then at the end you're like, I forgot about that, or I forgot about this. So if you can even build up some basic presentations as the starting point, and then answer questions and kind of dialogue through it, I think it's really good. Of course, making it fun to as much of an extent as you can without making it too crazy. Timing, test your software, make sure that you can connect, make sure that if you're using Zoom or GoToMeeting or whatever it is, that it works, that you're able to get into it. And then of course, practice makes perfect. Your execution, making sure that your visual and audio, I threw the dogs outside so that they're not barking while I'm trying to present. All of us have dealt with this. It's just the way it is these days, but the more you can do that. Again, respecting everybody's time, making sure you stick within the time frame that you talked about. Starting on time, ending on time. Very important in this day and age. The small talk, pros and cons to that. Quite honestly, if you're working with a retailer that you've had a great relationship with, it's going to carry through when you do these virtual sessions, right? You want to talk about the family. You want to find out how they're doing because that's what you do as a sales rep. Make sure that you can be heard and understood. And again, the ability to converse presentation versus interactive. And again, I think it's a good mix of both. And then the follow-up, thank yous, what the next steps are. We're all salespeople, right? So go for the close. What do you want me to do? When are you going to be ready to place the order? When the next meeting is that you want to set up, any additional information that was discussed, and then ask them how you did. I mean, you guys give us feedback on these webinars all the time. It was good, it was bad, it wasn't relevant, it was relevant. If you would have said this, it would have kept my interest, or if you'd have said that. That's what we want to hear. That's what you guys will want to hear as well. So you can continue to hone in that presentation. And then record your meetings, which these are all recorded. We send them out to you, but we also listen to them because we want to see how we did. Evaluating yourself, which is always difficult. Determine where you can improve. I said some stuff. I ran on too much on this. I lost interest here, those type of things. Act on the suggestions that you get back and track the results of the call. So those are the type of things I think are very important as we get through this. So I had 30 minutes and I got done in 29 minutes. So I hopefully didn't talk too fast over that. But at this point, the Brandwise Insiders, if you're not already a member of Brandwise Insiders, is our Facebook group. It's a closed group for sales reps, sales agencies, and suppliers. It's a great place to ask questions, watch questions, interact with your peers, interact with Brandwise, see what we're coming out with new and have some opportunity to interact before we develop something with your feedback, which is always awesome. So if you're not already a member, text Insiders to 33777. We'll send you back the information that you need to get hooked up. All right, I'm done. Any questions that you guys have, I will be happy to answer. Anything you want to see, I'd be happy to show. Callie, anything coming up?
Nothing so far, but I'll give you guys the ability to unmute yourselves. And feel free to type in if there's anything that you guys want to share, if you have takeaways in terms of what you've been successful with through this year. So Liz just asked, when a retailer updates data, do we automatically know that via an email, or do we just need to notice?
So when they start, yeah, so that's a great question. So right now, when a retailer updates their information, on their retailer record, it will update the information on their retailer record, and when you do a sync, it will pull that in. So now, if you go into a customer like in show mode, when you're in that mode and you type a customer in or you add a new one, it shares it automatically between devices. So any updates that are made or new customers do that. Then when you do a sync, it'll do that also on your iPad. We start grabbing the data from the 2.0 side and pulling it into the iPad. Then those will be dynamic. So anytime that you go to pull up a customer, whatever they've modified will automatically pull down to your device with the latest information that they have.
Excellent. Steve, should I go ahead?
Yeah. Hey, Steve, how are you?
Hey, nice to see you, Todd. What's the threshold for moving an agency to 2.0? I mean, most of us rep groups. I mean, we've got our highly sophisticated jump on board fast supplier partners, and we've got those that may be a struggle. So when is the right time, and how do you measure that?
So it's interesting. So we have about 22 agencies and a couple suppliers right now that have stood their 2.0 sites up side by side with their 1.0 sites, which we can do now. So we've done that with a number of different agencies. And the idea there is that instead of you keep your 1.0 site going until you get enough volume on the 2.0 site, Steve, to say, okay, we're going to cut it over. So as we do that, we do webinars with you, and Callie's been the one that's really been driving that with our implementation team to say, let's set up meetings with your suppliers. We'll walk them through getting their passports if they don't have them, getting connected to transit, and uploading data for you. What's nice about it now is we're seeing more and more suppliers. We're standing these Reach 2.0 sites up, and as soon as we configure them, they're immediately populated with any suppliers that you represent that have already uploaded data and images for anybody else. So out of the gates, for the most part, we usually get a decent amount of suppliers that are immediately on there. Then we start a joint campaign about the value of B2B e-commerce these days and what people are looking for, why they need to get the data up there, and so on and so forth. So you do a collective onboarding with the agency, Steve, to make sure that you're there, but you get that view of the 2.0 side that you can go in and look at that and make a determination to say, you know what, 75% are on there, we're going to go ahead and switch over to that environment, and then we'll push the other 25%. So that's kind of how we worked it.
Excellent, thanks.
You bet.
Looks like we got another question from Liz. How do we receive notes they send? Do they come via email?
Notes they send in. So the idea, Liz, will be, and we don't have the communication component put in, but the idea will be that in your passport, you have your personal passport, and then you see all the businesses you're connected to. And then the idea within that, if you're an agency, you also see all of the retailers. So what we've got designed is that we'll have either notes or chats or those type of things within Passport where you can have sort of dynamic communication with them. So if a retailer has a question, they can type that, they'll ultimately be able to type that question into their Passport, direct to their sales rep, direct to their agency. So instead of loading up your email with all these different things, we want to make it more dynamic. And in many cases, the way that these systems work is you can try to communicate with somebody directly through the platform, and then you typically have an option to say, okay, I'm not getting a response, send an email, and then that email would come out. So we're looking to involve some of those sort of basic off-the-shelf type of communication tools into the Passport process so that you can have that communication. So hopefully that answered your question.
Awesome. Not seeing anything else come in so far.
Okay. And then as mentioned, we've got a couple more at noon. We've got Ron and Callie doing a Reach Tools and Power of the Passport presentation, which I think would be a nice one. And then I'm going to do more on what we've done in play in this year, some brand new stuff that just came out in December with regards, again, to collections, categories, ways that you can use those tools in Play for iPad now or before when you're in the order versus just in Present Product. So we'll go through some of that. And then the vision for iPad at 2 o'clock, again, how to use that tool and how to leverage it to be able to see what your retailers are doing and share that information out with them, including downloadable images and things like that. So we'll go through some of that other stuff, which ties back into the things that we went through in this session. Nada else? We've got more coming. We give people back 10 minutes of their day.
Yeah, so if you guys are joining us for the next session, that'll take off in about 25 minutes. I'm glad you enjoyed everything, Steve. Thanks for being on today. I know it's been a busy time for some of you trying to end out the year strong, but we appreciate you guys being here live with us.
Yep. Thanks very much. Hopefully this was useful, and I'll hope to see some of you guys on the next sessions today. And if I don't, have a magnificent new year. As I've said at the end of every one of these calls, and I'll say it again, we hope that it goes from 12/31 to 1/1 and not 13/1/2020. So we'll hope for that. All right. Thanks, everybody. Take care.